My name is Dr. Karen McDonnell, and I'm head of RoSPA Scotland, as well as the charity's Occupational Health and Safety Policy Advisor. I've worked with the organisation now for over 30 years, and throughout this time have been involved with the Health and Safety Awards that RoSPA have established in 1956. These awards provide an opportunity for organisations to demonstrate how they protect their people. They also recognise that employees are whole people with whole lives and encourage organisations to act as a conduit for home, road, leisure safety related messages that protect families and communities whilst enabling them to thrive. Today in 2023, the RoSPA Awards is one of the most prestigious and recognised health and safety schemes in the world, with almost 2,000 entries every year from nearly 50 countries and a reach of over 7 million employees. Our Health and Safety Awards are truly global and open to teams and companies from anywhere in the world. So, what does a RoSPA Award mean for you and your company? Well, principally recognition. Recognition among your contemporaries, recognition within your sphere of influence, with the power to extend this around the world, increasing your visibility and connection within the RoSPA Awards community. Being successful from a first-time entry through to the pinnacle of achievement, the Sir George Earl Trophy, establishes your position within your sector and provides an insight not only into how you manage health and safety, but also the value you place on your people, boosting morale, encouraging collaboration and new and improved ways of working, which really do reap great rewards. Of course, from a business sense, companies that succeed in the RoSPA Awards have shown time and time again to be attractive choices for clients looking to secure a company to take on their next project, for the simple reason that an employer that protects its employees is more likely to be hardworking, industrious and ethically minded, attributes that are key when potential customers are scanning among the competition. So before I hand over to Matt Cryer, RoSPA Awards Standards Manager and colleague of many years standing, who will provide a deeper understanding of the RoSPA Awards and its benefits, I'll leave you with this. For over 60 years, RoSPA has worked with our award winners and members here in the UK and wider world to showcase success and share what works, all towards having fewer people harmed as a result of work-related accidents and ill health. By entering our awards programme in 2024 as a first-time entrant or taking steps from achievement to sector award, you're building momentum that affects change, makes an impact, and demonstrates the value you place on keeping your people safe and healthy. The eyes of our judges really do light up as they read about innovation, creative thinking, and how you engage your workforce. We know that a huge amount of work goes into each and every submission, so how can you make every word and piece of evidence count? Let me hand over to Matt to explain how.
Thanks, Karen. Yeah, it's great for you to all join us in this session today. As Karen's kind of reflected on kind of some of the history and prestige of the awards, and you know the fact that a huge amount of your time and effort goes into pulling an application together and submitting it to us. So I'm going to talk through a little bit about looking ahead to 2024. We're going to just give a reminder of kind of what the main areas of the scheme are. And then both in a few things I'm kind of just going to look at with these slides, and also in the kind of discussion that Karen and I are then going to have afterwards, responding to your questions. We're going to unpack some best advice in terms of how you can make the most out of your entry for 2024. Next slide, please. So I think just to reiterate and to echo what Karen said about the scope of the awards, it's gone from being a very kind of UK-centric scheme right back when we gave our first award out, which was in fact the Sir George Earl Trophy back in 1956, and that continues to be our top award today. We've grown to cover over 50 countries in terms of where our entrants are submitting entries from, and this map kind of just helps you visualize that. It's something that's really exciting. Next one, please, Kate. And I think that helps us understand that as award entrants and participants in the scheme, you know, we are this global health and safety community of professionals. So we're coming from different geographies, different countries, and with different specific challenges to where we are, but also we have many kind of shared challenges that we can all relate to, and things that we're managing and going through and using the same principles day to day. A reminder then of where the awards fits in with RoSPA. So RoSPA are a charity, and it's our vision to see life free from serious accidental injury. And serious accidental injury in the workplace, is an important area for RoSPA to be considering. And that's where the awards come in terms of helping to share and showcase and celebrate excellence and celebrate a commitment to learning and growing in our health and safety management together. And then as part of that, helping to reduce injury through the goals and the processes that we're using. Next slide, please. So this awards community that we've kind of worked really hard to generate and to grow in recent years is one that's also a catalyst for sharing. So the awards community is a great place for us to help educate each other. And we offer a number of kind of events and webinars throughout the year, such as this, that help us to do that. We regularly hear from award entrants on best practice, both in terms of just actual, things that they're delivering day to day, and as well their advice for how we pull together our award entries based on their own experience of entry. So networking and mentoring through all these opportunities are a really kind of important part of the scheme. Next one, please. Also, the awards is a really important development tool for us as organisations and as individuals. So we've continued to develop the structure of the awards as a reflective learning exercise. So it's not just a paper application, it's a chance for you to think about what's happened over the last 12 months and reflect on what you've done and how maybe that can trigger ideas for improvement, as well as talking about what's going really well. It's also great for you to reflect as an individual and think about how your learning has changed and developed over the last year, and that's something that you can of course include in your own professional CPD. And with that kind of learning and growth, it's a chance for us to show the journey that we're going on year, whether that's maybe progressing through different levels of grades in the awards, or potentially showing consistency at a high level over a number of years, which is also really important. Thank you. So the big picture then, as we look ahead to the 2024 awards, is that it's a chance to participate in this community that we've just explained of like-minded professionals and like-minded organisations with cultures that are committed to achieving health and safety excellence. It's a chance for us to celebrate our past performance, as well as inspire and drive our future success and demonstrate a commitment to ongoing continuous improvement. It's also a really helpful way for you to kind of benchmark your year-on-year performance, whether that's as an individual entry to see if you're progressing through the grades or maintaining a high level, or a great way as well to maybe enter various different sites and regions from your organisation, so as they can benchmark against each other through the award scheme. Thanks. So where are we for looking ahead to 2024? Well, we're aiming to launch in late September, so we're kind of getting ready now for the process. So we'd encourage you to make sure you're considering kind of getting things like RoSPA memberships up to date to help you with the membership discounts and exclusive things that you get through your RoSPA membership in relation to the awards. Make sure you've kind of got contacts ready and things like that for the awards. As always, we'll have an early discount on the registration fee, which is open approximately for the first month till around the end of October. We encourage you to register as early as you can in the year, because then once you've done that, and this is a very kind of, a top tip that I always give, is that you've got the maximum amount of time to pull together your entry and to edit it and to find the right information before you submit it. And it helps to spread that out, so it's not a rush close to the submission dates. The main submission deadline this year will be kind of towards the end of January, on 24th of January. So that's for the first phase of entry, which includes all of our competitive awards like the Industry Sector Award and our trophies. And then, as always, we will have a second phase, which focuses on the non-competitive achievement award categories. So that includes the fleet safety and the leisure, which can be entered later on in the year. They can also be entered in that first phase as well. We then move on to kind of the result notification. So that will take place in late March and late July, respectively, for those two categories. prior to moving on to our celebration events face-to-face in May and June. Thanks. So a reminder really what the main categories in the awards are for 2024 and any kind of key changes that we've made. We continue to kind of enhance the Achievement Award question set, adding additional clarification and guidance to the guidance notes to make this process simpler for you, and also to make sure that we're getting all the correct information that's part of our rigorous assessment and checking process. So the Achievement Awards are based on the standalone entry itself, and that's based against our mark scheme. And we will then award on a range of merit, bronze, silver and gold based on the things that our assessors have observed and how well your entry is evidenced, crucially as well. We have those awards. There's the main Occupational Achievement Award, which covers general occupational health and safety and wellbeing management. Then we also have versions for fleet safety and leisure safety that focus on those individual areas as well in a bit more detail. As well as those grades that I mentioned, you may hear, of course, of people who are winning a gold medal award, for example, or a President's Award, and they fit into this continuous improvement picture that we discussed at the start, where they recognise the holding of a gold award for multiple years in a row. So they are some prestigious categories, some prestigious awards that you can hold out for as well by demonstrating consistency. Following that, we've got the Industry Sector Awards on the next slide, please. The Industry Sector Awards are very similar in terms of the question set to the Achievement Awards, but this is the category that offers you as an organisation the opportunity to shine within your particular industry area by showcasing what you do really well. We select an overall best-in-class winner within each particular category. If we just click onto the next slide, you'll be able to see all the categories that we're offering for 2024 within the industry sector. So in each of these, we'd have an overall winner and possibly a highly commended and a commended. So there is a competitive element to this, and those who maybe don't win one of those top awards would still be able to win an equivalent Achievement Award grade. So maybe a silver or a gold, for example. And that wouldn't affect any kind of ongoing award history if you wanted to go for one of these for the first time in 2024. Next slide, please. An example then, this is still the route that goes towards the Sir George Earl Trophy, which is the scheme's top award and the very original award we gave out. There are some additional levels of scrutiny and stages for those that we shortlist for this category. So the finalists undertake additional activities, which include a site visit and a pitch to the judging panel. So this is a really detailed level of assessment. And that final stage is geared around how you can generate a legacy through your learning and positive health and safety culture. So it's really important, to think, what can we do in terms of sharing our excellence to benefit the wider community? And so we ask entrants to the Sir George Earl Trophy final stages to look at how they can generate a legacy project with RoSPA. Next stage. And I think this, from some of our winners from 2022, is a good example. If you want to just click onto the next slide, please. This is an example of a legacy project which was put in place by our 2022 trophy winner, Trents and Dove Housing, which focused on rolling out a really kind of widespread project around helping prevent falls within their housing. There's also the opportunity for the trophy winner to engage with RoSPA's National Occupational Health and Safety Committee and generate this ongoing involvement in sharing of information. Thank you. Next one, please. Then alongside the main entry categories, we also have a range of what we call specialist and excellence awards. Now, these recognise different areas. Some of them require a separate submission in terms of the specialist awards, and some of the excellence awards are automatically selected. So let's just go on to the next slide and we'll have a tour through those. An example then of kind of the specialist awards, which all require a separate submission form of some sort to be completed. We have the Inspiring Women in Safety Award, which is a really great category that we introduced for the first time back in 2022, and we've seen some great winners coming out of that, showing individuals who've made really significant inspirational impact in their management of health, safety and well-being. We have also a separate category called the Inspiration Awards, which focuses on the achievements, generally speaking, of individuals. So that could be somebody who's been doing a really good, influential job in the short term. It could be a distinguished service category for someone who's been doing that for a much longer breadth of their career. We also have an interesting category in there, for example, that looks at an individual project, and the Initiative Award helps recognise, particular standout initiatives and projects that we're really proud of. Again, those categories all look for kind of individual evidence, and everything we look at within the awards, whatever category is, it has to be evidence based. So we'll touch a little bit more on that in our conversation later, I think, Karen. So we also have the Health at Work Award, which is a separate submission for managing health and wellbeing in the workplace. And then the Dillman Environmental Awards, which looks at our management of environmental and sustainability. So that has been enhanced a little bit this year to cover more of the sustainable aspects of environmental management. Next one, please. And then, as we mentioned, we have the Excellence Awards. So these are still additional awards, but generally speaking, these don't require a separate submission to be registered for. So the workforce involvement in safety and health is something that's selected from amongst our industry sector entrants, to looking at the section in the entry which talks about workforce involvement and engagement. The Best New Entry Award, that's open to anybody in the first phase of entry from the Achievement Award, Leisure Safety, Fleet Safety and Industry Sector categories. So a chance for you to really shine in your first year of entry. There's the Fall Prevention Trophy, which looks at the best example of the management of falls, which is asked in the Achievement and Industry Sector. And then we've also got a new one going into 2024, which is the Health and Safety Beyond the Workplace Trophy. Now, this is incorporated as an optional response in the Achievement Award and the Industry Sector Award. And we're looking for excellence in how you're promoting safety of your employees beyond the gate, so outside of the workplace, on non-work related activities. Thanks very much. Next one. So then, just to wrap up again and really echo kind of what we touched on at the start, we are this wider awards community that offers lots of opportunities and ways to get engaged. So there are these forums, these webinars that you can join in to hear advice and to share advice. If you're an entrant, there's always the opportunity to get involved in these sessions and contribute as well. Then also we have an additional kind of suite of benefits and opportunities that are exclusive to RoSPA members. So there's a whole area on the My RoSPA area of the members website that allows you to kind of click through some archives of these sessions and also to download some other advice and support as well. There's also the opportunity for our members to get involved in a mentoring program as well, which is delivered through our awards ambassadors. So there's lots of opportunities kind of to support your entries going forward. That's kind of all I've got for the whistle stop tour to give us an overview. So let's have a talk through some of the questions we've got then, shall we, Karen?
Absolutely, and thanks very much indeed for that detailed insight into the backdrop behind the RoSPA Awards. I'd like just to take a moment just to reiterate that a copy of the slides will be made available, and they're a perfect aid memoir for moving through the awards year with RoSPA. So we're now going to address some of the questions that have come in from yourselves, our delegates, when you registered for this webinar. I know that there are a number of additional questions being asked in the chat box, and we will pick up as many as we possibly can during today's webinar. However, we can also answer them by email post the event and share that information with you. So Matt, we've had lots of inquiries in relation to people's entries, and you've already alluded to there being some top tips you might have when submitting an entry. Could you give some insights in today's attendees into these top tips and things they should avoid and the things that really stand out in an application, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I think some of the kind of key bits of advice can sometimes seem, very simple, but I think they're also very important. So whenever we've got such a scope to cover in terms of, your whole health and safety management system, it's important that you have a really good read through, particularly on the achievement and industry sector awards, of both kind of the questions themselves from start to finish before you start to respond to them, as well as the guidance notes, because there's lots of information in there that will help you and guide you through how you should respond. Generally speaking, each of the questions have got a number of bullet points that will help you kind of focus around the kind of areas that we're looking for in that response. I think as well, evidence is crucially important. So the assessment of the RoSPA Awards is kind of very rigorous, and we can't kind of just take it on good faith from what you've said. We need you to back up your narrative about your health and safety management system with kind of good examples of both kind of your planning documentation, but crucially as well your delivery of that planning. So we want to see kind of real world evidence examples of those systems in use. And I think a great example that we can do both of that with often is when we're looking at certain forms and procedures. If you can if you can share rather a version of a form that is completed rather than just kind of a template, that shows both your planning and also your follow through on that planning as well. So I think carefully read the questions, make sure you're responding to all the aspects of the question, because sometimes there's more than one within the same question, and that evidence component is really crucial. In terms of what stands out, really, I think particularly if we think at industry sector level, it's what you're doing that goes above and beyond the norm. So, how can you show that you're a real leader in your industry area? And that might include, how you're helping drive innovation within your organization. And it can be how you're driving continuous improvement, but maybe also how you're actually showing a desire to share that learning wider than your own organization as well. They're all things that really stand out and shine.
Well, thanks very much. I'm just going to add something into the mix there, because we often talk about the importance of taking almost a year to pull your submission together. So we've got lots of award winners who will have perhaps quarterly meetings, and they'll do a compare and contrast on what the best evidence is in terms of responding to that question, which also allows you to sort of map continuous improvement within the organisation. Is that something you would encourage people to do, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely. I think continuous improvement is just a really key thing to show, whether you're at achievement level or whether you're industry sector level. I think the challenges that we face day to day as professionals are always moving. They're not static. So I think it's even important, in, like I say, in the achievement category, that it's something that you consider throughout the responses to all the questions, definitely.
Yeah, because it certainly just becomes ingrained in how business functions on an annual basis when they're engaged with the RoSPA Awards. It gives that kind of pattern of reflective practice, as you mentioned in your presentation. Another great question from someone who's shining a light on well-being within their organisation. And this community is well aware that well-being is becoming a large part of health and safety now. So how is that reflected in this year's awards, please, Matt?
Yeah, sure. So we have there is kind of a specific question within the main achievement and sector question sets that looks at well-being. We've also got that specialist category, that the health at work trophy. So if that's a particular important theme for what you're driving at the moment in your organisation, we'd encourage you to consider, applying for that one as well. So there's some great opportunities for recognition there. And as well, I think it's important to remember that, we're looking at the health and safety awards here. Whilst a lot of us are kind of, provide lots of kind of good evidence on the health side of that, I think it's really important that you make sure that you're remembering health and well-being, within the whole of your health and safety management process and policies. And that you can try and weave that in throughout your submission as well. So I think, again, particularly when we're looking at what sets apart the highest achievers from those who maybe don't quite meet the standard for an industry sector overall level award, it's typically something that the assessors will comment on, is how well health and well-being have been included in the responses as well.
Yeah, so it's still very much a holistic understanding of what the organisation is doing in terms of health, safety, and well-being that we're looking for
Absolutely.
in the core
Yeah,
of.
absolutely.
Yeah. And so, for example, can an entry be based on a particular health and safety process a company follows, or does it have to cover all processes?
So we look at the whole of your health and safety management um, across the organisation. So it's important that we're capturing, the kind of the full breadth of all the different disciplines and things that feed into that. There is, as we mentioned, the opportunity to recognise a particular project or initiative in more detail through an entry to the Inspiration Awards. So that's something you can do. But in general, we're looking for you to kind of, I think, shine the lights on all areas of your health and safety management equally.
Thanks very much indeed. And I mean, the whole tone of this morning is very much about the awards process and working with yourself in terms of the RoSPA Awards. Um, the process is straightforward to follow, however, it is rigorous. And just because someone submits an entry doesn't automatically mean that someone will definitely achieve an award, because our awards grades recognise various stages of organisational safety management journey, if you want to call it that, as you progress towards and maintain safety excellence. I think it would be useful just to provide an insight into the level of scrutiny, especially in relation to data provided by entrants. Well, we've got the opportunity, well, we've got all these people listening to the process this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think so we ask entrants, in particular in terms of kind of accident information, for example. We ask for kind of a narrative on things such as any kind of riddle or events that you may have had. There's certain kind of categories of that we ask for kind of a full narrative and additional information to just help us really understand what's happened, and most importantly, how you've responded when an event like that has occurred. We've enhanced that area of the entry form this year to make it a little bit easier for entrants to provide that information and to provide, so kind of with a bit more consistency as well. So that's something that you should hopefully find beneficial. But our assessors are all kind of routinely doing kind of checks on the entries as they go through. So we do kind of background checks on HSE databases. We do kind of web searches for kind of news stories and things like that as well. So we really encourage you to be absolutely kind of as transparent as you can, because we kind of do occasionally come across things that mean we have to kind of go back to entrants and cross-check things and ask for more information. Sometimes that turns out fine. But we would also kind of point out that there are times when that will kind of preclude you from having a certain level of award, or it may kind of result in kind of a discussion as to whether an award is maybe the most appropriate thing to be celebrating, kind of given certain things that we've come across in an entry. So the process is really rigorous. One of the main things entrants can do is make sure that you are kind of following the mandatory requests on the accident and the enforcement sections, because that will help us get all that information up front. And if it's the case that it's something we can kind of process and move through without then having to contact you, it's really helpful for us to do that in terms of making sure we can get our results confirmed and out to you within the kind of the agreed timeframes as well.
There's an interesting question here, because you've given a very clear insight there into the rigour with which we look at submissions. The term red flag, what is a red flag to you and our wider judging panel, or a frustration with a delegate entry that we could advise people to completely avoid as a top tip?
That's a really good question. To completely avoid, I think in terms of kind of issues that you kind of may have experienced, I would encourage you to be completely transparent. So avoid kind of withholding any information within your entry. I think managing expectation as well, if there has been something such as a fine, or a really kind of significant injury, I think it's important that we kind of have an understanding between entrance and RoSPA kind of from the outset on how that kind of would likely affect your entry. So, and I think it's really important that you kind of consider our terms and conditions where kind of those serious incidents are concerned as well. So that kind of would be kind of a red flag on the assessment side, really.
Thanks very much for your honesty there. I think it's really useful for people to hear that directly from yourself. There's a couple of questions here about whether the question set remains static year on year. Well, we certainly know that it has evolved over time, and you might want to give in some insights there. And question about any new questions, or what the new question in this year's award submission will be, you know, where we sometimes change to reflect RoSPA's key issues. For example, falls is a topic that we, have you already mentioned, focus on.
Yeah, absolutely. So the question set itself is one we kind of continue to kind of gently evolve, really. So we recognize that the core disciplines and the core themes are very kind of similar year on year for us as professionals, and I think the question set kind of reflects that. We do kind of constantly make little tweaks here and there that help enhance it and also help enhance the guidance. The question that we asked last year regarding reflective learning and those kind of standout light bulb moments that have been really significant to your health and safety management in the previous year, that question remains the same going into this year. We also are continuing to have a focus as RoSPA on fall prevention through things such as the Fall Fighters scheme, which we're continuing to deliver. So we will be offering the same question to all entrants as a mandatory field about fall prevention this year. Although, to make it a little bit easier for you to respond to, we've drawn it out into a separate box on the application form, but that would still be a mandatory thing for you to cover. And again, that includes slips, trips and falls, and also considers falls from height as well. And the one other change that you'll notice as you go through is that we've included the health and safety beyond the workplace trophy as an opt-in question within the main question set. So that's open for all achievement award and industry sector awards to complete as they enter their main submission.
Thanks very much indeed. And just before we bring the session to a close this morning, can we quash a couple of myths in your next answer, Matt?
Certainly, yeah.
These are questions we're always asked, and perhaps most valuable for our new entrants. For organisations that are a lot smaller, perhaps, who don't have the same manpower, funding as larger organisations, do they stand a chance at winning a top award against these larger organisations? Can you explain how the process supports business irrespective of size?
Sure. I think if you have a look through our winners listings that we put on the RoSPA website, you'll see there's a variety of organisations of all different kind of shapes and sizes that are winning awards through RoSPA. There's an opportunity for you to enter, as a small organisation, as a large organisation, or even as an individual site within a larger organisation. There's lots of different ways that you can use the award process to kind of to help drive growth in your health and safety management. I think we shared the example in the presentation of Trenton Dove Housing, who won the Sir George Earl Trophy, which was our top award the year before last. Who are, they're a smaller organisation who managed to fulfil the criteria really well and get through to that final stage. So I think, we don't have any kind of limitations on the size of organisation. It's all about how you kind of communicate what you're doing in your health and safety management that ticks all those boxes, like how are you being innovative, how are you driving kind of thought leadership, how are you engaging with others. Although I think it's important to say it's not just purely a communication exercise. You need to also have the policies and procedures in place at a suitable level, of development that you can talk about. So it's not the case that a perfectly worded answer and the right pieces of evidence will get you a top award. That needs to be stuff that's being rolled out and delivered in practice, and that can be verified through this kind of rigorous assessment process that we use. Yeah. So.
Well, that's excellent, Matt. Thanks very much indeed. And we've got lots more questions in chat, but we're actually at the end of today's webinar now. We've addressed as many of the queries as we possibly do in the time available, and we will respond to the questions that are in the chat and send that as a group piece of group feedback.
If I could just chip in with one thing, Karen, I think it's worth pointing out just to anybody who maybe looks on the RoSPA website at the moment, we're kind of just in our pre-24 launch phase at the moment. So all of the information kind of will be, fully updated for the 2024 award scheme as we launch and as the booking process and registration process goes live. I think lots of the questions around kind of dates and things that have been asked in the chat will kind of be answered by those web pages as well when they go up for the 2024 round. So.
Perfect. Oh, that's great, Matt. Thanks for ensuring that's been recorded today. If there are any additional queries, please do reach out to our awards team on awards@rospa.com and they'll be delighted to assist you. We also have a couple more of award-specific webinars coming up, which you can register for through our website. The next one is on Tuesday, September the 26th, and will be part of an interview with a past award-winning entrant and what winning an award has really brought to their organisation. We hope to see you there. Thanks very much indeed for your interest, and goodbye.
Thank you.